The Fuse UK podcast is proudly sponsored by EcoSmart. EcoSmart help people to find the most suitable and affordable solutions to reduce their energy bills. They will assess your property and determine which system would be the most suitable for you to power your home with cheaper, greener energy. Not just that, but EcoSmart can also provide scaffolding services that can change charging ports at home for your electric cars and many more services that can provide. Call them now on 0800 222 9532. EcoSmart, leading the way in renewable energy.
Yes, people, what's happening? Nice one for coming back to the Fuse UK. It's much appreciated as always. Special guest on tonight, Mr. James, Lights Out Lilley. What's happening, brother? You good?
How are you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm all right, mate. How's yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Just, grinding away, family and all that shit,
Yeah, so are you currently still doing bits in the gym and that then, or?
To be honest, I rested my hands for about 2 weeks after the fight. I got a bit of swelling on my left hand. I've been doing a few runs and a few classes, but starting to ramp it back up again now. I usually find after fighting, I need a little blowout myself, beers, rubbish food, and then work always just, I don't know if it's like the gods it, but the work always seems to pick up after my fight. So when I'm working away and stuff, then, it's nice to have a chill and a beer. But yeah, I've got the fire back a little bit now. So once I get this week out the way now with the last of my kids' birthdays, I'm going to ramp it up big time, like.
Yeah, cushy, mate. I was wondering if we could start it because we haven't spoke properly since obviously you went over there. But tell us about the whole trip, mate. How did you feel? What was it like when you first got over there and that?
Oh, it was amazing. I don't know if you've seen the trailers come out today for another documentary about sort of like this about the trip to Miami, and I think the way they've done it is more like it's funny because me and my team don't take too much too serious, and it was hell of an experience. It's the second time out in Florida. The Americans give me so much love, and we went for a couple of days extra this time. It was one of the best experiences of my life. It was berserk, and it's the level that I now want to try and operate at because walking around seeing my picture up in a casino next to those posters for LL Cool J and stuff on the walls next to me. It's mad. It's just crazy. I still can't quite comprehend that it was me who went out there.
Yeah, I seen that trailer as well today on your Instagram, man. It looks sick.
Yeah, it was good. It was madness. They only got the funding a couple of days before we left, and they came out there, and it was great just to have another Welsh scout there. A few boys from Swansea made the trip. It was mad because I was walking around South Beach with one of my oldest friends and his fathers, and just fucking this is it. This is what we dreamed of.
Yeah. So how did you feel in yourself, physically?
I was in probably the best shape. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you only had 6 weeks to get ready," but I kind of already started back in the gym. I'd only just started back in the gym. That's what I work with. Yeah, it was. They said, "Oh, you only had 6 weeks," but I'd already been in the gym 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. So I was a little bit worried about cutting the weight in the amount of time, but I'd already given myself a kind of a head start. So we had a nutritionist involved, Jackie. She runs the Fight Nutritionist on Instagram. And it was perfect. The cut was perfect. I was in great shape. I'd done a lot of sparring in the 6 week period against top guys like ex-British champions and stuff. It was really,
yeah.
I was in the best shape I could have been. I can't. There's no excuses on my part. Some people would have maybe taken the loss and said, "Oh, I only had 6 weeks. It would be different if I had 8." But I can't even make that excuse. Because I was in the best shape I could be in. Came in nearly a pound under the weight. I was flying. It was the best version of me.
Yeah, 100%. And was there any different kind of nerves or anything for this fight with you going up against the pound for pound number one? It was a big fight, mate, wasn't it? It was a very big fight.
To be honest, I was more nervous, and I've said this. I was more nervous with the Bobby Taylor fight because I felt a bit of pressure in the Bobby Taylor fight because obviously I was number one, he was number three. They were calling it a title eliminator, so I was more nervous in that fight because I was gonna lose my position if I lost, and I was expected to win. I was going as a favorite, so against Palomino, although the odds were quite close. Don't think many people were giving me a chance, and I prefer that. I like being the underdog. I like the fact that maybe the Americans are booing me. Maybe he's got the home crowd on his side because most people say, "Oh, what was it like when they were all chanting? 4,000 people chanting baboon." I like shit like that. It didn't. I was like, "Oh, this is fucking pretty cool." Like, it didn't faze me in that way. So I wouldn't say I was nervous. I knew it was a big fight, and but I didn't feel any sort of pressure from it. As I said, I think I was more nervous in the Bobby Taylor fight because I don't get nervous about sort of who I'm fighting. It's more, what's it called? The bigger picture, what comes next. So I would say, I wouldn't say I was nervous. I had nothing to lose. It was, I achieved my dream. I was living my dream. So I wasn't nervous. I loved every moment of it.
Yeah, going into the actual fight as well, did Palomino fight the way you thought he was going to fight? Or did you think you were going to be in more of a inside fight with him?
I thought he was going to try and rush me a little bit like he did with Tom Schoaf and come at me. And then if I sort of weathered the storm, then he was going to go on the back foot. But, obviously I didn't know at the time, he'd had problems with his hand. I thought he was going to fight a little bit cautious as well because he'd been preparing for people like Austin Trout and he was hoping to get them. And I think he was a little bit disappointed that it was me. So I can understand his comment saying he's fighting safe, but he surprised me. His movement was a lot better than I thought it was. I thought it was a close fight. I don't think I got going as much. I wasn't as good with my rhythm as I could have been, and it was a winnable fight. I think I let it slip through my fingers a little bit.
Yeah, how did you feel in the fight as it was going through? Did you think you were up or down on the cards?
I know I had a good first round. I thought I won the first round. I think he clipped me early in the second round, which stiffened my legs. Didn't hurt me, but stiffened my legs, and it kind of made me lose my rhythm. I can remember going back to the corner at the end of the third round, and my cornerman was like, James Watts, like, "You've given those 2 rounds away." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." So then the fourth and the fifth, I tried picking it back up, but when I heard the first score was 4-9, 4-6, I kind of knew I'd lost. I knew I was going to get 4 rounds. I thought maybe I'd edged 3 and they would give me, 3-2, but I kind of knew I let the fight slip away a little bit and I'd given myself like a mountain to try and claw it back then. So, I can't be too disappointed. I think it was a fair score, to be fair.
Yeah, and obviously I've heard you're not going to be staying at £155 now, are you? You're moving down to £145.
Yeah, there's not much happening at 155 at the moment. There's still some good fights out there for me, but a couple of guys underneath me are fighting each other. And if either of them wins, it's not going to take my position. Palomino was obviously earned his stripes. So he's going to go looking for those big fights that he's been promised. So, it's going to be at least 12 months before I get a shot again. So I think the logical thing, unless something happens in the meantime with Palomino maybe vacating or, moving back up to take the 165 title, there's not much happening at 155 for me. So 145 seems a logical option. I've been making 155 pretty easy the last 2 fights. So I think go down there and get amongst it. And then it gives me some options, as I said, 155, that's what I'm natural at, but I don't know what fight there is for me at there. Tony Soto is either fighting Good John in a rematch or he's been calling out that Kevin Kroom. And I don't know what's happening with the other 3 people in the division. So I don't see there's anything for me to do at 155 until someone else wants to punch me in the face, really.
Yeah. How do you make 145? Do you think you'll make it quite easy?
I'm lazy, see, with my diet. I only start dieting when I'm in camp, and I've been making 155, you know, 8 weeks and then 6 weeks. I've done it pretty easy. So I just got to be a bit more disciplined out of camp, maybe an extra 4 weeks of diet, then I could probably make it. Like Miami last time, I was 154. I was still full of energy. It wasn't a hard cut, so I could have easily got another 2 kilos off down to 150. Just if you think about it like that, it's only dieting down another 2.5 kilos. So yeah, I could pretty make it easy, to be fair. If I'm disciplined, as long as the right fight comes on. I'm not gonna go down to 145 to fight like an unknown. I want to fight someone in the top five, and then maybe look at taking whoever's got the title at the time.
Did you weigh yourself after, obviously, you rehydrated and that? Do you know what you rehydrated to at your last fight?
About 170, I think it is.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. That's about the weight I walk around at before I do the cut. 165. I think I landed in America sort of like £10 over, and I cut it pretty easy. It's never been a struggle. I struggled cutting it for Tyler, and I think I'd done it because when I'm flying to America, there's always a problem with like retaining water on the flight. So it's in my mind a little bit. So I think I'm a bit more strict with the diet. But because I was fighting in England, I thought, I'm not having to worry about retaining water. So I came in a couple of pounds heavier than I normally do, thinking, I'm in a hotel, I'm just going to cut it. But I made it difficult for myself. I still made it, but I made it more difficult for myself. When I've gone to America the 3 times, I've been a little bit self-conscious of, having to travel and, not being able to get my diet stuff because I got to have, airplane food and stuff. So I kind of made it a bit stricter and I'd be a bit more disciplined, and it's been a dream, to be fair.
Do you find it easier losing weight over there as well with the heat?
Yes and no, to be fair. Like when we were in Miami last time, we went to Falco's community boxing gym, and I was outside skipping with one of my coaches who was inside sparring because he had a fight coming up. And, the water was dripping off me. But then when you're in the hotel gym and stuff, it's all aircon. So
yeah,
you don't really, it's the same as the stadiums over there, and stuff now. Everything's got aircon in America, so you don't really feel the heat. But yeah, you definitely, if I was outside doing pads and stuff, yeah, but a lot of the work you do is inside the gym because you don't want to. I'm not doing a lot of work while I'm out there, so yes and no. If I was out there for maybe 2 weeks, maybe I would find it easier, but 5 days, 6 days isn't enough, really.
Yeah. And obviously, I'm taking it you've been mooching through the 145-pound division with you moving down there. Is there any fights? I know you fight anyone, but is there any fights that like sort of tickle your fancies to have as a debut fight in the 145 division?
Do you know what? I was thinking, if I was going to call someone out, I'd want to go after the number one guy. Louis Lopez is coming off a loss for a title fight. I'm coming off a loss for a title fight. It kind of makes sense to me to say, both of us are at a crossroads fight. I don't want any warm-up fights. I don't want to go fighting someone who's outside the top 5 unless, it's some massive name like Austin Trout or Eddie Alvarez and stuff. But I don't want an easy fight now. All the guys I've fought so far in BKFC have been ranked or ex-title challengers. So I want a hard fight. So I'd want to look at someone in, the top 3 or 4 in that division. Brandon Allen had a good win as well the other day. So I'm open, it all depends on who's available. I know there's some scheduling issues and stuff. I think Kai Stewart and Dappy Dat look like they're going to be fighting. So other than that, I'm easy. I haven't got a preference. As I said, like I'm at the pinnacle of the sport I'm in. So whoever they want me to fight, I'm happy to fight.
Yeah, and you're still wanting to obviously fight stateside, or you're wanting to have another one in the UK?
It's a bit of a difficult one, to be honest with me, because I love, like, I've gone over to America was my dream, and I love fighting in America. I do miss fighting in the UK a little bit because it was nice to have 10 boys from Swansea come out with me in Miami, and it was good to have a crowd chanting. It also like family life, you know, is a bit. If I'm in training in the UK, I don't have to go away for that week. It was probably only going to be 3 days if I'm fighting in the UK, so that's a little bit difficult as well because I feel like they're missing out on me. So I don't. I'd like to finish my career. To say my last fight was in America, but I'm hoping they extend my contract by another 2 or 3 fights after this one. So, you know, the dream is to have one fight, the first BKFC in Swansea, in the Swansea Arena, and that'd be it. Then that would like be the icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, and obviously I've been talking to some other fighters from down your neck of the woods in Wales, Lee Selby and Andrew. Would you like to see them turn over to the bare knuckle?
Yeah, definitely. No, I've done a lot of rounds with Lee. You know, he's a great guy. I've known him for a few years, beating the Welsh squad with him and stuff. Yeah, it'd be good to have someone of, you know, that caliber in BKFC, and it would be great for Wales. You know, it would be like a recognised, a recognised true professional boxer, world title level switching over. So I think that would help push the sport on in Wales. Definitely, yeah. I'd love to see either of them to do it. But I'm also hoping that, you know, I can help push the sport forward in Wales. So, you know, don't do it. I'd like to take up the mantle instead. You know.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And did you watch the bare knuckle podcast earlier on the BKFC page with Brian Socia and that?
I didn't. I caught some of it. He put up the Barbie poster, but to be fair, what did I see? I seen they were watching a video of something. Oh, they were watching the Italian gladiators. You know, in the football, was it? Is that what they were watching? Yeah. I watched that, but I was traveling, so I didn't get to watch it. I'm gonna try and catch up with it a bit later on when the kids go to bed.
Yeah, basically, David Feldman come on the podcast and he's like, we've got a major announcement. We're just getting the deal done now, and this is like saying it's massive, massive news of a signing.
Oh, right.
It's like getting done now, so hopefully they can reveal it next week. Do you think you have any ideas of who that could be?
I haven't, and I didn't realize. You know, usually I hear like a rumor from someone. I got a couple of friends stateside who've got like contacts, and they'll be like, "Oh, this signing who?" So I don't know. It's
the way he said it as well. It was like a big name.
The only one the only one I could think of off the top of my head would be someone like Conor McGregor. You know, because he's not in USADA yet. He can't fight back in the UFC, but obviously he's such a big star with the UFC. I don't know. It's a difficult one because I don't know. It's got to be someone who's like a Nate Diaz, but Nate Diaz has got that boxing fight. I don't know. It'd be mad to find out who it is. Hopefully I can find out this week now. I'll be texting everyone now.
I think it could be MVP because he's free agent now, isn't he?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it'd be good because he did say he wanted to get back in there. Yeah, it'd be good to see him back in there. You know, Conatini done wrongs him, but he said he was an incredible fighter. So I'd love to see him, and then he would bring a big name. But I think he's also chomping at the bit to try and get him with the UFC. He was at the last event.
Yeah.
You know, Cowboy Cerrone. There was rumors of him signing at one point, and he's retired now. But he also, I don't know. I can't even. It's going to be someone big, I think.
It's exciting though, and it must be even more exciting for you because it could be a potential opponent in a big fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Where's the payday?
Yeah, class. Is there anyone you'd like to see sign over, like your weight into the boxing MMA world?
Like, no, obviously, like Conor McGregor and stuff like that. They'd be dream fights. But for me to finish off my career now, I'd like to fight an ex-UFC star or an ex-boxing star. You know, when he's been on your podcast stuff and talking to like Austin Trout and stuff, I messaged back and forth with Eddie Alvarez the other day, and it's a privilege that they actually know my name. You know, it's just mad that these caliber fighters know who I am. So anyone like that, you know, I wouldn't want to say, oh, I love to fight who, because I'm really open, and you know, I enjoy fighting. But yeah, I'd like to put a name on my record to finish it off. So if I had to choose anyone who's involved in the moment, it would be Eddie Alvarez, because I think he's probably the biggest name they've got signed from MMA at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And you're building a bit of a name now in the USA as well. Like, even though you had nothing to do with the show and that the other day, the press conference, one of the first questions the media asked is he fighting James Lilley next? When we next going to see James Lilley out? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Someone. I woke up. Obviously, it was after the fight. I woke up in the morning and I had a couple of pings from people saying, "Oh, you're going down the 145," and I was like, "Yeah, how do you know?" And they're like, "Oh, you got asked in the press conference." So I was like, "Fucking." So I watched the full press conference then to be heard about for 10 seconds. So yeah, it was good. But it's nice to be mentioned. It's like I said, I've got to the point where I don't have to like be on Twitter or Instagram shouting about myself. Now I'm getting the recognition that I put all these years of work in. So yeah, I'm really happy. Like, this is the dream for me. The next bit is to maybe get some sponsors on board so I can just do it full time to finish off my career. That's the next step.
Yeah, definitely. Still fully at with a poetry and that as well.
Yeah, it's mad because this year has been so busy with BKFC. I find it hard to do the two at the same time. I've got a few things on the go. I've been collaborating with Sandrine Devine, a French woman who saw my BBC documentary and then my French TV documentary. So I've been collaborating with her over this poetry book, and she's got it released with a French publishing house. I've got another collection of poems coming up with someone else, but I'm finding it more and more difficult to sit down and give it the time it deserves. So I don't like. Same with fighting. I won't do it unless I'm committed to it. I won't just be like, oh, go on, then I'll take this fight. I want to be like, right, if I'm taking this fight, I got to honor the sport. And I find the same about writing. And that's why I sometimes find it difficult to get back in touch with people who are sending me poems. I'm like, look, I can't just read this and give you my opinion. I've got to find 10 minutes to go sit down and reflect on it. And I think that gives it more justice. So like I always say to people on Instagram and stuff, if you're sending me work, don't be offended if I take a couple of weeks to get back to you, because I need to find the time to read it properly instead of just being like, yeah, it's good, mate. I'd rather just be like, right, I like this. I reckon this could be changed. I'd be honest about it.
Yeah, I think I've spoke about this to you before, but it's weird how the brain works, isn't it? Like when you get writer's block and things like that, some days you can just write, and then some days you can't put 2 lines out. You don't know how to get the start going. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and I like some people, like my peers, I'd say in writing, have said you should write every day and stuff. But sometimes I feel like I can't just force like the words out. If it's not, if I haven't got the inspiration, I just feel. And I tell you what doesn't help as well when I'm out of camp is if I have a few beers on the weekend, like the Monday and Tuesday, I'm just like, I can't even. Yeah. I can't. Fucking knobs.
It's all right, mate. You're away working like.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh.
Well, what is it you do again working?
I'm a casino and arcade engineer for a company called Novomatic Gaming.
All right. So what do you do, like all the machines and stuff?
Yeah, so installing them all over the UK, look after the sort of machines that connect to the internet, make sure they got all the new games, take care of new software, train engineers, take phone calls of engineers, help them troubleshoot machines. It's a mixed bag, mate. Really, I do a lot. Like, it's hard to define my job in like a role. Like, I do a lot of stuff, but I get to go all over the UK, been over to Austria, our head office in Austria. So yeah, I travel quite a bit and I do get to see a lot of the UK. So it's good.
Yeah, custom, mate. And before we wrap it up, is there anything else you want to share with us or anything else you've got to tell us?
What have I got? Got a new film coming out called Beautiful Violence by Fine Rolling Media. It follows my journey from sort of, in my world title fight in Miami. So it's got a lot of like poetry and stuff involved in it. That should be coming out in a few weeks. We've got to do a little bit more film to finish off. And if you haven't seen it, The Warrior Poet's out on YouTube by a gentleman called Kieran Gibbons, and that was charting the fight in New Orleans and the build-up and sort of aftermath of that as well. It's a good watch. It's funny. Gives you an insight that like my team doesn't take things sort of too serious. Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to those guys for the work they put in. It's mad that two different groups of people wanted to make a documentary about me. You know, it's bizarre. Like,
it's good though, mate. Like, seeing how far you've come, mate, and like, fucking hell, you've had some journey, haven't you, mate? Even just not even including the stuff before the BKFC, just the BKFC alone, you've got a good little story, haven't you?
yeah, it's said that it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. You know, I loved fighting for BKB. I had no problem with them, and it was hard making the leap from them. But you know, the love I've got from BKFC, I think, I can't recommend it enough. You know, it's been amazing. Lots of people tell me not to go over them. You know, they just want to show that the Americans are better than the Brits and stuff. But I've had nothing but love from them. Nothing but positive things to say. Never have a bad word to say about any of them over there. They've been great, and I've got a fan base I never imagined, you know?
Yeah, well, I think I worked out the other day, mate, and I think the Brits have got a 10-7 lead on the Americans.
Oh, I did see, yeah.
I think that's, if we include in Jake Botswick, I think it's 10-7 to the UK. But if we're not including Jake Botswick, it's something like 8. We're still winning by a couple.
Yeah, it's great at the moment because, like, obviously, it was only sort of like myself and Tierney who had rankings. You know, Franco's in the rankings now. Danny Christie's in the rankings. Mick Terrell should be in. I don't understand why he's not, but we're finally starting to get like a foot in the door and build up. And you know, it's really nice to see that we're emerging as a major force in bare knuckle. And now they've got BKFC Europe on the way, so I think you'll see more and more. It's great because, you know, at one point it was just all American flags up and down the page. Now we're seeing like a couple of British flags in. I think with the European contest, we'll see other nations get involved, and that's what's going to make the sport better. Is the global reach, the fact that you've got fighters from all over the world. I was going to say UK, they're all over the world, different flags, getting different rankings, and people are going to say, "Wow, this is a legit sport," you know.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that Feldman mentioned on the podcast there. He said, we've got another announcement to make about we'll be debuting BKFC in a new country.
Oh, nice. That'd be cool.
I wonder where that is. It'd be mad if it was somewhere like Dubai or Saudi Arabia or something, wouldn't it?
I know at one point they were looking to do BKFC Italy and then BKFC Brazil. I'd love to see BKFC Brazil. I think
some rough lads in there, wouldn't there?
Yeah, they got like, they're a bit like sort of like Thailand and Indonesia, where they got like a Muay Thai background, like, you know, Jose Aldo and that. And at one point, I know they were saying about BKFC Russia, but that was before all that shit kicked off. So, you know, obviously they can't do that at the moment. But he said more and more nations getting involved. It's going to turn the sport global, and I can't wait. I can't wait to be part of the ride.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, mate. But we'll stay in touch, mate, like we always do. Sure, you'll have some great news for us soon about your next opponent in the 145-pound division. But I really appreciate you coming on, mate, and hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, pal.
Yeah, thank you, Lou. Thank you for having me, mate. Really appreciate it again.
Not a problem, mate. I'll speak to you soon, yeah?
Cheers, mate.
Yes, people. James, lights out, Lilley. Really excited to see him in the 145-pound division. Just spices that division right up. But I'm going to put James Lilley's social medias in the description for people who don't follow him that can do that now. And yeah, nice one for tuning in, everybody. This podcast was sponsored by EcoSmart. So make sure you head over there as well and follow them on Instagram and all the other socials. Good night. God bless, people. Have a